Imagine you were completely lost in this really captivating high-stakes dream.
Oh, like one of those dreams where you just have to fix something immediately.
Yes, exactly. You're running around, you're frantically trying to solve some incredibly urgent problem. Maybe you're, I don't know, building a house, or you're arguing with someone over a perceived slight.
Right, or just desperately trying to protect your stuff.
Yeah. And inside that state, it feels undeniably real. I mean, your heart is pounding. The stakes just feel absolute.
Because to you, in that moment, it is your entire reality.
It is. But then somewhere in the very back of your mind, this tiny, quiet realization starts to take hold. It's just a subtle shift in awareness.
A feeling that something is off.
Right. You realize you need to wake up. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a really contemplative journey today into a profoundly soulful composition by Guru Arjan Dev Ji.
Set in Rag Jaitsree, which is just beautiful.
It is. And we're going to explore this deeply human struggle between the illusions of the material world and the ultimate quest for spiritual liberation.
You know, that analogy of the dream state, it really hits the core of what we are unpacking today.
It felt appropriate for this one.
It absolutely is, because for those of you familiar with Rag Jaitsree, you know this specific musical framework inherently carries this deep, almost aching sense of yearning.
A yearning for what, exactly?
Well, it often evokes the feeling of a wanderer, like someone who feels totally displaced and is just searching for a true anchor, you know?
Oh, I like that. A wanderer.
Yeah. Guru Arjan Dev Ji uses this specific emotional landscape to explore the very painful, very human struggle between the intoxicating grip of the material world and the soul's ultimate quest for peace.
So let's start right there, inside that grip, because I feel like before we can even conceptualize liberation, we have to deeply understand the architecture of the dream we're trapped in.
The trap itself, right?
Exactly. Guru Arjan Dev Ji points directly to Maya.
Yeah.
And we often hear Maya translated simply as, illusion.
Right, in a very detached, almost academic, philosophical sense.
Yeah, exactly. But this composition frames it as an aggressive, active force. The text actually calls it treacherous.
It doesn't hold back.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It describes humanity as being utterly intoxicated by emotional attachment to it. It's not just this passive mirage you look at from a distance.
No, it is something that actively consumes our focus. It hijacks our reality completely.
Intoxicated is such a strong word to use there.
It acts as a profound intoxicant. And what makes Guru Arjan Dev Ji's framing so compelling here is that he doesn't point to, abstract evils as the source of this intoxication.
Right, it's not some distant, cartoonish villain.
No, he points to the mundane, everyday anchors of human life. I mean, the composition explicitly lists children, friends, worldly occupations, and spouses.
Which is heavy.
It is. It observes how people spend their fleeting time entirely consumed by talking of these things, while their actual life force is just slipping away. It's the day-to-day reality that acts as the trap.
Okay, I have to push back on that a bit. Sure. Because for a lot of people listening, those things, children, spouses, a fulfilling occupation, those are the sources of meaning in life.
Absolutely. They are fundamental to the human experience.
Right. So why are the most beautiful, fundamental parts of human connection being categorized as a treacherous trap? Doesn't that kind of risk promoting a totally detached, maybe even apathetic way of living?
That is the crucial nuance to understand here. The text isn't suggesting that loving your family or doing your job is inherently evil or wrong.
Okay, that's a relief.
Right. The danger lies in the nature of our attachment to them. The tragedy is treating the temporary as if it were eternal.
Treating the temporary as eternal.
Exactly. The composition describes the world as a temporary way station. Yet humanity operates within this way station filled with pride and possessiveness.
We act like we own the place.
We really do. We drown in emotional attachment, treating these relationships and roles as ultimate permanent realities rather than transient experiences we are just meant to pass through gracefully.
That makes me think of an analogy. It's like checking into a roadside motel.
Okay, I'm with you.
You're only there for a single night, right? You literally have to check out the next morning.
Right, it's just a stop on the journey.
But instead of just resting, you walk into this tiny room and you immediately start stressing about the wallpaper.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You spend the entire night frantically repainting the walls. You're buying expensive new furniture to cram into the space.
Arguing with the manager about the carpet.
Yes. Arguing with the person in the next room over who has the better view. You exhaust yourself completely, investing your entire identity into a room you don't even own.
And you entirely forget that you're leaving in a few hours anyway.
Exactly. It's absurd when you frame it like that.
It is absurd, but it perfectly captures the psychological displacement the text is addressing. We invest our entire spiritual capital into the furniture of a motel room.
That's a great way to put it.
And the ultimate symptom of this profound level of intoxication, as Guru Arjan Dev Ji explicitly states, is that they do not even think of dying.
We just block it out completely.
We completely block out our own mortality. We live with this underlying assumption of our own physical permanence, which is, well, it's the ultimate delusion.
And if you're listening to this right now, perhaps you're driving to work or sitting at your desk, just think about how much of your daily anxiety stems from that exact delusion.
Just protecting things you physically cannot keep.
Right, which naturally leads to how this intoxication warps our behavior. Because if we are fundamentally in denial about our reality, our actions are going to reflect that disconnect.
Oh, they reflect a massive contradiction. The composition highlights this glaring paradox in how we operate.
The paradox being how we try to hide things.
Yes. On one hand, humanity, totally blinded by this attachment, secretly commits hideous sins of corruption. That's from the text.
We sneak around in the dark.
We do. We try to hide our greed, our pride, our exploitations from the eyes of others.
But on the very same page, the text establishes the absolute omnipresence of the divine.
It does, very clearly.
It doesn't just say God is up there watching from a cloud. It says the divine is the nearest of the near.
The nearest of the near.
Yeah, Guru Arjan Dev Ji writes that this presence is pervading everywhere in the places and interspaces, in the water and on the land.
And totally permeating the water, the land, and the sky.
I love that phrase, in the places and interspaces.
It is incredibly deliberate. It eliminates the very concept of a void.
There's no empty room to hide in.
Exactly. There is no empty corner, no dark alley, no private room where the divine presence is absent. It is the very fabric of reality itself.
So here's the psychological puzzle for me.
Let's hear it.
If we know this, if the theological premise is that God permeates the very interspaces of the room we're sitting in right now, why do we still instinctively try to hide?
It's a profound contradiction.
Are we really just that arrogant, thinking we can somehow create a cosmic blind spot?
I think it goes deeper than just arrogance. This is where we see the actual mechanism of ego at work.
The ego, right.
Ego, which is fueled by the intoxication of Maya, literally constructs a localized false reality.
What do you mean by localized?
It convinces the individual that they are a separate, isolated entity completely cut off from the divine light.
Oh, I see.
So when we commit actions in secret, it's not just that we are trying to fool God, it's that we have genuinely tricked ourselves into believing we are alone.
We rely entirely on the limitation of our physical eyes.
Precisely. If no other human is in the room, we just assume we are unobserved.
It's like we act as if the universe has a blindfold on, just because we do.
That is brilliantly put. And that is the core of our suffering right there. This constant attempt to hide reinforces the illusion of separation.
It makes us feel profoundly isolated.
Isolated and unaccountable, which only feeds the cycle of anxiety and greed even more. We are exhausting ourselves trying to maintain this facade of secrecy from the very force that is sustaining our heartbeat.
The sheer energetic cost of maintaining that illusion just must be staggering.
It's totally draining.
Which makes the pivot in this composition so striking to me. Because once you actually confront the absurdity of hiding from something that occupies the space between your own atoms, the facade just breaks.
It has to break. It can't sustain itself.
The tone of the composition shifts dramatically here. It moves from observation to a deeply vulnerable, really raw plea.
You see a transition into radical humility. The realization of omnipresence forces a total shattering of the ego's defenses.
The speaker just drops the act completely.
They drop it and basically say, save me any way you can. There is no longer any attempt to justify, to rationalize, or to hide.
The admission here is absolute. I'll read a bit of it. Guru Arjan Dev Ji writes, "My demerits are uncountable. How many of them should I count? The sins and crimes I committed are countless day by day. I continually make mistakes."
It's a staggering level of self-awareness.
It's jarring, honestly, especially today. In our current culture, we spend massive amounts of energy curating our image.
Oh, constantly.
We polish our resumes, we filter our photos on social media, we hide our daily mistakes to project this aura of total competence and righteousness.
We have to look like we have it all together.
Always. So to stand completely spiritually naked and say, I am endlessly flawed, save me anyway, that feels like it would be terrifying, but also the ultimate relief.
It is the breaking of the ego's back. It's terrifying to the ego, but liberating to the soul. And notice the specific plea made here in the text.
What's the specific plea?
It is a humble prayer to bless the homeless with a home.
Wow. The homeless with a home.
Right. This ties directly back to the emotional signature of Rag Jaitsree we talked about earlier.
The wanderer.
Exactly. Despite all the worldly anchors, the occupations, the houses, the wealth, the soul recognizes its fundamental homelessness in the material realm.
Because none of it lasts.
Exactly. The realization finally sets in that the temporary way station offers no actual sanctuary. As the text states, there is no other place at all. Where else should I go?
But the composition doesn't just offer comfort for that realization. It actually demands a radical shift in how we live.
It demands total transformation.
It states that to find this true home, one must renounce pride, attachment, corruption, and duality, and ultimately eradicate all your self-conceit.
Eradicate self-conceit, yes.
I really struggle with this conceptually, I'll be honest.
It's a tough concept for the modern mind.
It really is. If I eradicate all my self-conceit, like all my ego, how do I actually function in the world? Don't I need some level of ego to advocate for myself, to negotiate a salary, or just to survive in a really competitive society?
It sounds like it would make you a target.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't eradicating ego just turn you into a passive doormat?
That's a very common concern, but I think it misunderstands the nature of spiritual ego in this specific context.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Eradicating self-conceit doesn't mean destroying your capacity for action or your intellect or your boundaries. It means shifting your center of gravity.
Shifting your center of gravity.
Yeah. Right now, the ego acts as the supreme monarch of your reality. It honestly believes it is the ultimate owner of your achievements, your wealth, your relationships.
Right, it takes all the credit.
Exactly. So eradicating that conceit means stepping down from the throne. You still go to work, you still provide for your family, you still negotiate that salary, but you do it as an instrument of the divine, not as the owner of the outcome.
You stop stressing about the motel room wallpaper because you finally accept you don't own the building.
Bingo. That's exactly it. And when you stop pretending to be the owner, you can finally approach the divine.
Because the barrier is gone.
Right. The text describes the Lord as lofty, unapproachable, and infinite. And the grand paradox of this is that the infinite is only approachable through becoming nothing.
By becoming nothing.
By dedicating mind and body to God and erasing the false boundary of the self, you finally align with that permeating presence.
Okay, I understand the theology of becoming nothing to merge with everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But let's ground this.
Let's do it.
If someone listening feels entirely trapped in that dream state we talked about, caught in the anxiety of their daily attachments, they can't just logically deduce their way out of it.
No, logic isn't enough here.
You can't just tell your ego to stop being an ego. That never works.
Yeah.
So does this composition offer an actual functional lifeline to make this transition?
It absolutely does. It moves straight from philosophy into practice.
Okay, what's the practice?
The text identifies two specific interconnected catalysts for this transformation. The first is the Sad Sangat, which translates to the company of the holy.
Okay, the company of the holy.
And the second is the continuous meditation on the name, which is the true name or essence of the divine.
The phrasing in the text implies a very direct causality here. Guru Arjan Devji states, "My mind is now emancipated. I have joined the Satsangat."
It's a statement of fact.
Yeah, it isn't just a mild suggestion to find some nice like-minded friends. It's presented as the very mechanism of emancipation itself.
Because our environment dictates our frequency.
Say more about that.
Well, think about it. If you are entirely surrounded by individuals who are deeply intoxicated by Maya people, whose sole focus is the accumulation of wealth, the reinforcement of pride, the total obsession with the temporary way station, your own ego will continually lock into that exact same frequency.
You just match the energy of the room.
Exactly. We are social creatures. So the Sad Sangat represents a disruption to that pattern. It is an environment where the collective consciousness is oriented entirely toward the eternal instead of the temporary.
You know, it's like being trapped in a freezing, cavernous room.
Okay, another analogy. I like it.
Stick with me here. If you were just one person in this giant icebox, relying solely on your own body heat to survive, you are eventually going to freeze. The environment will just overpower you.
Right, you can't fight the ambient temperature alone forever.
Exactly. But if you step into a section of that room where dozens of fireplaces are already burning intensely, which is kind of how I visualize the Satsangat, your own temperature changes immediately.
That's a powerful visual.
You don't have to generate all the spiritual heat yourself from scratch. The environment acts upon you. The collective resonance warms your spirit and makes it possible to finally thaw out that frozen ego.
The environment provides the warmth, perfectly said, and within that warmth, the specific practice is meditating on the name.
And the text gives specific instructions on how to do that, right?
It does. It specifies that this is done 24 hours a day with my palms pressed together.
24 hours a day.
But we have to unpack what that actually means in reality. It obviously doesn't mean abandoning your worldly responsibilities to go sit in a cave with your eyes closed.
Right, because we already established we still have to function in the world.
Exactly.
I feel like palms pressed together suggest a state of continuous internal reverence, like a posture of receptivity, regardless of the physical action you were performing at the time.
Precisely. Meditating on the name 24 hours a day means establishing a continuous underlying operating system of remembrance.
An operating system.
Yeah, it's a background frequency that you maintain while you are talking to your children, while you are doing your job.
While you're stuck in traffic.
Especially when you're stuck in traffic, you are constantly remembering the transient nature of the way station and the eternal nature of the divine.
And what's the result of maintaining that frequency?
The text reveals the direct result of this practice right there. It says, "The fire has been extinguished, and I am satisfied."
The fire being the relentless anxiety, the greed, the unquenchable thirst for more temporary things.
Yes, the burning fires of worldly desire simply cannot survive in the presence of the name. When the mind is anchored in the eternal, the illusions of Maya just lose their combustible power.
They just burn out.
They do. The individual is finally satisfied from within, rather than constantly trying to consume the external world to fill this infinite internal void.
Which really brings us to the breathtaking conclusion of this journey. We've traced this incredible path from the deep intoxication of the material world.
The dream state.
Right. Through the realization of our really absurd attempts to hide, into the vulnerability of radical humility, and finally into the transformative practice of community and remembrance.
It's a full roadmap.
It is. So where does that trajectory ultimately lead the soul?
It leads to the complete cessation of separation. When the ego is dissolved and the mind is entirely focused through the name, the soul reaches a state of ultimate spiritual emancipation.
The ultimate goal.
The sins, the karmic weight of countless mistakes are erased. But honestly, it's the imagery of this union that is most profound.
It is incredibly intimate.
Very.
Because we started this discussion talking about a divine presence that is lofty, unapproachable, and infinite. Like, vastly beyond it.
Right, untouchable.
But the conclusion of the composition describes the union like this. He has taken me by the arm and blessed me with his kind mercy. He has accepted me as his own.
It's beautiful.
And furthermore, the Lord has hugged me in his embrace and merged me with himself. I mean, it isn't a transactional pardon from some distant, cold judge. It is a literal embrace.
That intimacy is the very core of the Sikh concept of salvation. It is not about being granted access to some paradise in the afterlife.
It's not about later.
No, it is about achieving union in the here and now. The defining phrase of this culmination is, "My light has merged into the light."
My light is merged into the light. It evokes the image of a single drop of water just falling into the ocean.
Or a candle flame being brought into the sun.
Yes. The individual light doesn't die. It simply ceases to be distinguishable from the infinite source.
And with that merging, the fundamental source of all human angst is eradicated entirely. The text assures us that the pains of birth and death have been burnt away.
The cycle is broken.
The cycle is broken. The soul is no longer condemned to wander from one temporary way station to another, repeatedly falling asleep, getting intoxicated by Maya, and suffering the intense pain of separation.
The spiritual homelessness we explored earlier in Jaitsree is finally resolved.
The wanderer is home.
The wanderer is home. And what stands out so clearly to me is that this emancipation isn't described as a slow, agonizingly bureaucratic spiritual process.
No, not at all. The text emphasizes that through divine mercy, this union happens in an instant.
In an instant.
While the human struggle to eradicate self-conceit and surrender may feel incredibly long and arduous.
Because fighting the ego is exhausting.
Exactly. But the actual moment of grace, the merging of the light, is immediate. Once the vessel is truly emptied of ego, it is instantly filled with the divine.
It is a profound psychological and spiritual roadmap. We have covered incredible ground today.
We really have.
We analyzed the danger of treating our temporary way station as a permanent reality and how our deep attachment to mundane things acts as a literal intoxicant.
Keeping us asleep.
We dissected the exhausting paradox of trying to hide our flaws from a presence that occupies the very spaces between our atoms.
Inner spaces.
We explored the immense, terrifying relief of dropping the facade, admitting our countless demerits, and seeking true sanctuary through the support of the Sadh Sangat and the constant remembrance of the name.
The catalysts for change.
And finally, the incredible promise of the individual light dissolving into the infinite embrace, extinguishing the fires of anxiety and the cycle of suffering in a single instant.
Guru Arjan Dev Ji provides us with an unflinching mirror here. This composition forces us to confront our most deeply held illusions, but it doesn't leave us in despair.
It gives us a way out.
It offers a very tangible, though incredibly challenging path to a peace that is not dependent on the shifting circumstances of the material world.
It demands that we wake up, which leaves me with a final thought for you to carry into the rest of your day.
Leave them with something to chew on.
We spent time exploring this incredible concept of the divine pervading the inner spaces, literally occupying the empty space in the physical world around you. If that is true, if this reality is just a temporary motel room, and the eternal presence is situated in the very air between you and the objects in your room right now.
Well, wait, no ellipses.
Ah, right. How does that change the way you will interact with the very next person you speak to today? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take care.